Harmony Station floated peacefully in the void between stars, its lights twinkling like a small city in the darkness. The station was home to 50,000 people from different worlds. Humans lived there alongside alien families. Scientists worked in laboratories while traders sold goods from across the galaxy. Children played in the recreation zones, laughing without knowing the fear that would soon come. Commander David Torres watched the morning shift change from the station's control center. He sipped his coffee and checked the routine reports. Everything was normal. Ships came and went, carrying supplies and passengers. The peace had lasted for 3 years since humans first established Harmony Station as a symbol of cooperation between species. In the commercial district, Merchant Rebecca Walsh argued with a tall Zathrian officer. The alien stood nearly 7 feet tall, his purple skin gleaming under the bright lights. His golden eyes showed annoyance as Rebecca shook her head firmly. "I already told you, Admiral Crefton, this medical technology is not for sale to military buyers. Our government has clear rules about this," Rebecca said, keeping her voice steady despite the intimidating presence before her. The Zathrian admiral's mandibles clicked together in anger. The Zathrian Empire controlled 400 star systems. They viewed themselves as the rightful rulers of the galaxy. Humans were newcomers barely 80 years into space travel, controlling only 12 small systems. "You dare refuse the Empire?" Crefton's voice was cold and sharp. "Your species does not understand its place in the order of things. You are children playing among giants." "We understand just fine," Rebecca replied. "We're equals under the Galactic Council's laws." "The answer is no." The Admiral's expression hardened. He turned and left without another word. Rebecca felt a chill run down her spine, but she pushed the feeling away. The law protected them. The station was neutral territory. 3 hours later, alarms screamed throughout Harmony Station. Commander Torres jumped from his chair as the sensors lit up like fireworks. 6 Zathrian warships had appeared from faster-than-light travel, their weapons already charging. His hands flew across the controls, opening all communication channels. "This is Harmony Station to approaching Zathrian vessels. You are entering neutral space with weapons active. Please explain your intentions." Admiral Crefton's face appeared on the screen. His expression showed no emotion, no mercy. Humanity must learn respect. The Empire does not accept defiance from lesser species. This station is your lesson. Torres felt his blood turn to ice. "There are 50,000 civilians here. Families, children, scientists from 20 different species. This is a civilian station with no weapons." "Then they will die quickly," Crefton said. "Let this be a message to your government. Obey or face consequences." The first energy blast struck the station's eastern habitat ring. The explosion tore through metal and glass like paper. Thousands died instantly as the atmosphere vented into space. Torres hit the emergency broadcast button, sending a distress signal to Earth and every nearby system. "Mayday, Mayday. This is Harmony Station under attack by Zathrian military forces. They are firing on civilians. We have no defenses. Request immediate." The second blast hit the control center. Commander Torres saw the white light approaching through the window and then nothing. Rebecca Walsh ran through the corridors, pulling her young son behind her. The station shook violently as explosion after explosion ripped it apart. People screamed and ran in all directions, searching for escape pods that could not possibly hold everyone. "Mom, I'm scared," her son cried. "I know, baby, I know. Just keep running." They reached the evacuation bay only to find it already destroyed, a gaping hole open to space. Rebecca pulled her son close, holding him tight as the station died around them. She thought of her husband back on Earth and hoped he would know she loved him until the very end. The attack lasted 11 minutes. When it was over, Harmony Station was nothing but debris and frozen bodies floating in the darkness. Admiral Crefton ordered his ships to broadcast the destruction across all galactic frequencies, adding a simple message: "This is what happens when humans forget their place." On Earth, in the underground command center beneath the Swiss mountains, alarms woke Admiral Sarah Kincaid from a brief sleep. She rushed to the command floor, still in her uniform from the previous day. The massive screens showed the live feed from Harmony Station's last moments. She watched in horror as the station broke apart, as the lights went out one by one, as 50,000 lives ended in fire and vacuum. "Confirm casualties," she ordered, her voice tight. "All hands lost, Admiral. No survivors. Station is completely destroyed." The room fell silent. Officers stood frozen, staring at the screens. Some wept openly. Others stood with faces carved from stone, their eyes burning with rage. Ambassador Chen stood before the Galactic Council 3 hours later. The council chamber was a massive circular room where representatives from 100 species gathered. The Zathrian delegation sat in their section, looking bored and unconcerned. The Terran government demands immediate accountability for this atrocity, Chen said, his voice echoing through the chamber. 50,000 civilians were murdered without provocation. This was not an act of war. This was mass murder. The Zathrian Emperor's hologram appeared, towering above the assembly. His voice was dismissive and cold. A warning was given. Your merchant refused a simple transaction. Your species needed to understand that defiance has consequences. Inferior species must learn their place in the galactic hierarchy. The matter is closed. Inferior species? Chen's voice rose in anger. You murdered children. You destroyed families. This was genocide. It was education, the Emperor replied. Perhaps now humanity will be more cooperative. We suggest you accept this lesson and move forward. Other council members shifted uncomfortably but said nothing. The Zathrian Empire was powerful. No one wanted to be the next target. One by one they looked away. Chen stood alone before them all. He sent a single message back to Earth. They refuse accountability. Council will not act. Recommend alternative response. Terran command went dark for 72 hours. Every military installation, every warship, every defense station stopped all external communications. The galaxy wondered what humanity was planning. Some hoped for negotiation. Others feared what was coming. In the command center, Admiral Kincaid met with the Joint Chiefs and the President of the Terran Federation. Before them lay the war plans that humanity had hoped never to use. Plans created from the hard lessons of Earth's bloodiest conflicts. Plans that other species would consider barbaric and extreme. They think we're weak, the President said quietly. They think we'll negotiate and accept their apology after some time passes. Yes, sir, Kincaid replied. They killed 50,000 of our people. They called it a lesson. The President's hands trembled with rage. What lesson should we teach them, Admiral? Kincaid pulled up the tactical displays. Red markers showed Zathrian military positions across 30 star systems. Her eyes were cold and hard as diamonds. We teach them what happens when you wake up a species that evolved fighting itself for 10,000 years. We teach them what total war means. We teach them that humans don't forget, and we never forgive genocide. The President nodded slowly. Authorization code accepted. Directive Red is now active. Admiral Kincaid, make them understand what they've awakened. Across human space, the message went out to every colony, every ship, every citizen. Harmony Station, remember? The galaxy had no idea what was coming, but it would soon learn that humanity's greatest strength was not their technology or their ships. It was their capacity for absolute, terrifying determination when someone they loved was threatened. The Zathrian Empire had crossed a line. Now they would burn for it. The transformation began within hours of the President's authorization. Across 12 human star systems, entire worlds shifted from peace to war like a machine changing gears. Factory lines that produced farming equipment were retooled to build missiles. Civilian shipyards began constructing warships around the clock. Universities turned their research toward weapons development. Dr. Sarah Chen stood in her laboratory on Mars, looking at the message on her screen. She was a geneticist who had spent 20 years studying alien biology to find cures for diseases. Now the government was asking her to find weaknesses instead. Her hand shook as she began the work, thinking of her sister who had died on Harmony Station. On the orbital factories above Earth, worker crews assembled weapons that had not been built in 80 years. Nuclear warheads, kinetic kill vehicles, chemical weapons that the galactic community had banned as too cruel. The other species fought with honor and rules. Humanity was preparing to fight dirty. Admiral Kincaid walked through the military archives deep beneath Terran command. Rows and rows of data cores contained humanity's bloody history. Every war, every battle, every terrible lesson learned from thousands of years of humans killing humans. The other species had been at peace for so long they had forgotten how to truly wage war. Humans had forgotten nothing. Pull the files on the world wars, the resource conflicts, and the corporate wars, she ordered her aide. I want every tactic, every strategy, every dirty trick we ever used. If it won, I want to know how. The aide looked uncomfortable. Admiral, some of these tactics they're considered war crimes by galactic law. The Zathrians murdered 50,000 civilians and called it a lesson. Kincaid's voice was ice cold. They don't get to hide behind laws they just broke. Pull the files. While humanity prepared, the Zathrian Empire celebrated. News broadcasts showed Admiral Krevthun receiving medals from the Emperor. He stood proud before the cameras, explaining how he had taught the humans proper respect. These young species need firm guidance, he told reporters. Like children, they test boundaries. We simply showed them where those boundaries are. I expect they will be much more cooperative now. Zathrian military analysts studied humanity's 12 systems and saw no cause for concern. Human ships were smaller than Zathrian vessels. Human weapons seemed primitive compared to Empire technology. Humans had only been in space for 80 years, while the Zathrians had built their empire over 3,000 years. They may protest and complain, one analyst reported to the military council, but they lack the capability to threaten us. At most, they might try some small raids on border outposts. Nothing of consequence. The analyst was wrong. On the 73rd hour since Harmony Station's destruction, 7 Zathrian military shipyards went dark simultaneously. Each shipyard was deep inside Empire territory, protected by defensive stations and patrol fleets. They were building the next generation of Zathrian warships. Admiral Krevthun was jolted awake by emergency alarms. He rushed to the command center in his flagship, demanding answers. What's happening? What are those alarms? Sir? We're receiving distress signals from 7 shipyards across 6 sectors.
They're under attack!
Attack by whom? How did enemy forces get past our defenses? The officer's face was pale. Sir, they say they never saw the attackers coming. The yards are just exploding, one after another. Someone is inside our territory destroying our construction capability. Krevthun stared at the tactical display in disbelief. Red markers showed shipyards burning. Thousands of Zathrian workers were dying. Years of construction was being destroyed. And his sensors showed no enemy ships anywhere near the targets. What he didn't know was that human stealth ships had spent the last 72 hours slowly infiltrating Empire space. They moved like ghosts, using technology that Zathrian sensors could not detect. Human engineers had studied Zathrian sensor systems for years, finding every blind spot, every weakness. The stealth ships carried special weapons, nuclear devices designed to maximize electromagnetic pulse effects, kinetic penetrators that could pierce any shield, cyber warfare packages that turned Zathrian defense systems against themselves. When they struck with devastating precision. By the time Zathrian defenders responded, the human ships had already vanished back into the darkness between stars. Admiral Kincaid's face appeared on every screen across Zathrian space 6 hours later. Behind her stood the flags of all 12 human colonies. Her expression was hard and merciless. People of the Zathrian Empire, this is Admiral Sarah Kincaid of Terran Command. 72 hours ago, your military murdered 50,000 civilians without provocation or warning. Your emperor called this murder a lesson. Today we have destroyed 7 of your military shipyards. This is our response. We have killed only those who build weapons of war. This is more mercy than you showed our children. She paused, letting her words sink in. We offer you one chance. Withdraw all forces from human borders immediately. Pay reparations for the lives you took. Turn over those responsible for Harmony Station's destruction to stand trial. Do this and we will pursue peace. Refuse and you will learn what war truly means when waged by a species that evolved fighting itself. The transmission ended. Silence fell across the galaxy. Every species that had been watching this situation with mild interest suddenly paid very close attention. The humans had struck at the heart of the mighty Zathrian Empire. They had done the impossible, penetrating deep into protected space. Emperor Zathvar watched the transmission 3 times, his mandibles grinding in fury. How dare these primitives strike at the Empire? How dare they threaten him? His advisors urged caution, suggested negotiation, but he would not listen. They destroy 7 shipyards and think this makes them powerful? The Emperor's voice shook with rage. We have hundreds of shipyards. We have thousands of ships. I will burn their 12 little worlds to ash and scatter their species across the void, as a warning to all who would defy us. He summoned his military commanders. Prepare the 3rd Armada. 200 ships. I want every human colony in flames within 1 month. Show no mercy. Leave no survivors. Make them extinct. The 3rd Armada was one of the Empire's most powerful forces. 200 warships, each larger than anything humanity had built. They had conquered 30 systems in the last war. Surely this would be an easy campaign against the primitive humans. The Galactic Council called an emergency session. Representatives from dozens of species pleaded with both sides to negotiate, to find peace, to step back from the edge of total war. Ambassador Chen stood before them again. This time his voice was calm and certain. We offered peace. We asked for justice. We were given contempt and threats of extinction. The time for negotiation has passed. The Terran Federation will defend itself by any means necessary. We did not choose this war, but we will finish it. A representative from the peaceful Delthani species stepped forward. Please, humanity is young but wise. Do not let anger guide you. The Empire is vast and powerful. This conflict will cost millions of lives on both sides. You're right, Chen replied. It will cost millions. But those lives are on the Emperor's conscience, not ours. We offered him a way out. He chose extinction instead. As the Third Armada prepared to depart for human space, Terran Command was already moving. Evacuation orders went out to the outer colonies. Defense platforms were activated. Mines were laid in strategic locations. And the Terran Defense Fleet took up positions at Proxima Reach. Humanity's most vulnerable colony. Captain James Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the TFS Defiance, watching 200 Zathrian warships approach on long-range sensors. He had 60 human ships under his command. The odds were more than 3 to 1 against them. His crew looked nervous. Many had never seen real combat. They knew they were outnumbered and outgunned. But they also knew what had happened at Harmony Station. Many had lost friends or family there. Sir, should we request reinforcements? His tactical officer asked. Rodriguez smiled grimly. Negative. Everything is going according to plan. The tactical officer looked confused. Sir, we're outnumbered 4 to 1. What plan? The plan where we teach these bastards that humans don't fight fair, Rodriguez replied. All ships battle pattern Delta. Prepare to engage. And remember the Admiral's orders. Make them bleed for every inch. The Third Armada entered the Proxima Reach system expecting to find terrified colonists and minimal resistance. Instead, they found humanity's defense fleet waiting for them, outnumbered but defiant. Admiral Krevthun smiled as he saw the tactical display. Finally, he would show these primitives the price of defiance. He would destroy their fleet, then burn their colony, then move on to the next world. But Krevthun had made one critical mistake. He thought he understood what humans were capable of. He thought this would be a conventional battle fought by conventional rules. He was about to learn that humans had no intention of fighting fair. And in war, fair fights are for those who want to lose. The Battle of Proxima Reach began with a lie. Captain Rodriguez ordered his fleet forward in a standard attack formation. The human ships accelerated toward the massive Zathrian armada, weapons charging. To Admiral Krevthun, watching from his flagship, it looked like humanity was about to make a brave but foolish frontal assault. They come at us head-on like animals, Krevthun said with amusement. No strategy, no subtlety. Just rage and desperation. Prepare to fire when they enter range. This will be over quickly. The Zathrian ships moved into their traditional battle formation. Generations of military doctrine had refined their tactics to perfection. Heavy cruisers in the center, destroyers on the flanks, carriers in the rear. Every captain knew their role. Every movement was precise and coordinated. The human fleet crossed into weapons range. Zathrian energy cannons opened fire, sending brilliant blue streams of plasma across the void. The lead human ships took devastating hits. Shields collapsed and hulls melted. 3 human destroyers exploded in the first 30 seconds. Predictable, Krevthun muttered. Continue firing, but then something unexpected happened. The human fleet broke apart. Instead of pressing the attack, they scattered in all directions. Some ships accelerated away at maximum speed. Others dove under the plane of battle. A few released what looked like debris and then fled. Sir, they're retreating, a Zathrian officer reported. Krevthun frowned. Already? After one exchange? Chase them down. Don't let them escape. The Third Armada broke formation to pursue. This was exactly what Rodriguez had been waiting for. The debris field the human ships had released suddenly came to life. Thousands of small objects began moving on their own. They were drones, each carrying a nuclear warhead. They swarmed toward the Zathrian ships like angry hornets. Zathrian point defense systems opened fire, destroying hundreds of drones. But there were too many. They came from every direction at once. The first dozen nuclear explosions lit up space like newborn suns. Evasive maneuvers, Crefton shouted. Reform defensive positions. But it was too late. The Zathrians had broken their careful formation to chase the humans. Now they were spread out and vulnerable. The nuclear drones exploited every gap, every weakness. Human ships that had seemed to flee suddenly reversed course. They came racing back at velocities that seemed impossible, their engines burning at dangerous overload levels. They weren't running away. They had been positioning themselves for the real attack. Rodriguez watched from his command chair as his ships executed maneuvers that would make Zathrian commanders sick. Human pilots pulled turns that would crush normal bodies with G-forces. They dove through debris fields that sensors said were impassable. They fired weapons while spinning and tumbling in ways that defied traditional combat doctrine. Target their command ship, Rodriguez ordered. All railgun platforms fire on my mark. 20 human ships fired simultaneously. Not energy weapons, which the Zathrians expected. Railguns. Chunks of metal accelerated to a significant fraction of light speed using electromagnetic force. Primitive technology by galactic standards, but devastatingly effective. The relativistic slugs hit Crevthun's flagship in quick succession. The shields designed to dissipate energy weapons did almost nothing against solid matter moving at such incredible speeds. The projectiles punched straight through the hull like bullets through paper. Alarms screamed across the Zathrian flagship. Multiple hull breaches, engineering destroyed, life support failing in 6 sections. Crevthun stared in shock at his damage reports. How? How are they doing this? Our shield should another human weapon struck. This one was different. It was a nuclear-pumped X-ray laser. When the warhead detonated, it channeled all its energy into a beam of intense radiation. The beam carved through the flagship's armor and deep into its interior. Abandon the command deck, someone shouted. Crevthun never got the chance. The next hit struck the bridge directly. The admiral who had ordered the destruction of Harmony Station died in an instant, vaporized by the same kind of merciless attack he had inflicted on human civilians. Across the battle space, the Zathrian Third Armada was dying. Human tactics were unlike anything they had trained for. The humans used false retreats to break up formations. They deployed suicide drones that their own pilots guided into enemy ships. They fired missiles that zigzagged and changed course, making them impossible to track. Worst of all were the cyber attacks. Human hackers had spent 72 hours studying captured Zathrian computers. They found ways to inject viruses into enemy systems. Zathrian ships suddenly found their own weapons targeting friendly vessels. Navigation systems gave false readings. Communications were jammed or fed false information. The Zathrians tried to adapt, but adaptation took time. Doctrine took time. Humans didn't give them time. They pressed the attack relentlessly, showing no mercy, offering no quarter. When the Zathrian formation finally collapsed completely, Rodriguez sprang his final trap. From the Kuiper Belt at the edge of the system, hidden among billions of ice chunks and rocks, more human ships emerged. They had been waiting there for days, cold and silent, invisible to Zathrian sensors. This was the real Terran defense fleet. 50 more warships, fresh and fully armed. They fell on the scattered Zathrians like wolves on wounded prey. The battle became a slaughter. Zathrian ships tried to retreat but found their escape routes blocked by human minefields. Those that tried to fight were overwhelmed by coordinated attacks from multiple directions. Human ships worked in packs, covering each other, focusing fire on single targets until they were destroyed. In the command center on Earth, Admiral Kincaid watched the battle through real-time data feeds. Her face showed no satisfaction, no joy, just cold determination. Casualty reports? She asked. 23 ships lost, Admiral. 6,000 casualties. Zathrians have lost 174 ships so far. Their remaining vessels are attempting to flee. Let 3 ships escape, Kincaid ordered. Kill the rest. The survivors need to carry the message back. Yes, ma'am. Which 3 ships? The ones carrying the most senior officers. I want the Zathrian military command to hear firsthand what happened here. I want them to hear the fear in their comrades' voices. The battle lasted 42 minutes from start to finish. When it was over, 197 Zathrian ships were destroyed or disabled. Only 3 ships escaped, running at maximum speed back toward Empire space. Among the captured survivors was Admiral Crevthun. Or rather, his body was recovered from the wreckage of his flagship's command deck. DNA identification confirmed his identity. Rodriguez's face appeared on screens across human space and beyond. Behind him, the wreckage of the Third Armada floated like a graveyard. This is Captain James Rodriguez of the Terran Defense Fleet. Today we destroyed the Zathrian Third Armada. 197 warships sent to exterminate humanity have been reduced to debris. We did not start this war, but we will finish it. He held up a data chip. This chip contains the trial records and execution order for Admiral Krevthun, who ordered the destruction of Harmony Station. He was tried in absentia for war crimes and crimes against humanity. He was found guilty. His death today was the execution of that sentence. Rodriguez's expression hardened. Let this message reach the Zathrian Empire. Let it reach the Galactic Council. Let it reach every species in the galaxy. Humanity does not start fights, but we finish them. Kill our civilians and we will hunt you down. Your rank will not save you. Your ships will not protect you. Your empire will not shield you. Justice will find you, and it will be absolute. On the Zathrian homeworld, the news of the Third Armada's destruction caused panic. The military had assured everyone that these primitive humans would be easily crushed. Instead, they had destroyed one of the Empire's most powerful fleets with relatively few losses of their own. Emperor Zathvar locked himself in his chambers, refusing to see anyone. His advisors gathered in emergency meetings, arguing about what to do. Some urged negotiation, others demanded revenge. The military began mobilizing the Grand Fleet, 800 warships representing the full might of the Empire. But even as they prepared, a seed of doubt had been planted. The Zathrians had thought they understood humans. They thought humans were weak, naive, bound by rules and honor. The Battle of Proxima Reach had shown them the truth. Humans didn't fight with honor. They fought to win. They used every advantage, exploited every weakness, and showed no mercy to those who threatened their families. The Zathrians had awakened something terrible, something that had been sleeping peacefully but was now fully alert and absolutely furious. Across the galaxy, other species watched and learned. The humans were not the harmless newcomers everyone had assumed. Behind their friendly diplomatic faces and peaceful trade missions lay something much darker. A capacity for war that had been refined through thousands of years of fighting themselves, and now that capacity was focused on a single target, the Zathrian Empire. The galaxy held its breath, wondering if the Empire would see reason and sue for peace. Deep down, though, many suspected the truth. This war had only just begun, and before it ended, the galaxy would see just how terrible humans could be when someone hurt their children. Emperor Zathvar stood before the Grand Council in the Imperial Palace, his voice shaking with rage. Behind him, holographic displays showed the wreckage of the Third Armada floating in space like a monument to failure. "This insult cannot stand," he roared. "These humans, these children of a single world, dare to challenge the empire that has stood for 3,000 years? They destroy our fleets and execute our admirals? This is intolerable!" "Your Majesty," one of his advisors began carefully, "perhaps we should consider negotiations. The humans have proven more capable than we anticipated. Their tactics are unconventional but effective. If we negotiate, the Emperor's mandibles snapped together violently. "We do not negotiate with inferiors. We crush them. The Grand Fleet will launch within the week. 800 warships will reduce every human world to cinders. I want their species erased from history as a lesson to all who would defy us." The advisor bowed and said nothing more. Around the Empire, species that had been conquered or absorbed by the Zathrians watched with interest. Many secretly hoped the humans would win, though none dared say so aloud. In the Terran Command Center, Admiral Kincaid studied the intelligence reports. The Zathrian Grand Fleet was mobilizing. 800 warships, the largest military force assembled in 2 generations. They would come in one massive wave, intending to overwhelm humanity through sheer numbers. They learned nothing from Proxima Reach, her tactical officer observed. "Oh, they learned something," Kincaid replied. "They learned we're dangerous. Now they're throwing everything at us to make sure we don't survive, which means we can't fight them on their terms. We can't win a defensive war against those numbers. Then what do we do, Admiral?" Kincaid's finger traced a line on the star map from human space directly to the heart of the Empire. Through 30 Zathrian systems, past defensive stations and patrol fleets, straight to Zathros Prime, the Zathrian homeworld. We end this war the only way it can end. We take the fight to them. The room went silent. Everyone stared at the map in disbelief. You want to attack their homeworld? The tactical officer whispered. Ma'am, that's suicide. We'd have to fight through 30 systems to get there. Not fight through, Kincaid corrected. Fight past. We're not trying to conquer territory. We're not trying to win every battle. We're trying to deliver a message directly to the Emperor's doorstep. And the message is simple. Your empire cannot protect you. Surrender, or your world burns. The president of the Terran Federation joined the meeting via hologram. His face was grave. Admiral, your staff is right. This plan could cost us 40% of our remaining fleet. Maybe more. Is it worth that price? Kincaid met his eyes steadily. Sir, if we fight defensively, we might hold out for a year. Maybe 2. But eventually, the Empire's numbers will overwhelm us. They can afford to lose ships. We can't. Our only chance is to make them afraid. To show them that no matter how many ships they have, we can reach out and hurt them where they live. And if we fail, then humanity dies fighting instead of cowering. But I don't believe we'll fail, sir. The Zathrians have been at peace too long. They've forgotten what it means to face an enemy that has nothing left to lose. The president was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. Do it. Operation Ragnarok is approved. Bring our people home, Admiral. Humanity's remaining fleets gathered at the edge of Zathrian space. 130 warships carrying the hopes and fury of 12 colony worlds. They were outnumbered 6-1 by the Grand Fleet alone, not counting the garrison forces they would encounter on the way. Admiral Kincaid addressed the fleet from the bridge of her flagship, the TFS Retribution, crews of the Terran Defense Fleet. In 3 hours, we will enter enemy territory and begin our attack on Zathros Prime. We will face overwhelming odds. Many of us will not survive. But every ship we destroy, every system we penetrate, brings us closer to ending this war. The Zathrians think their numbers make them invincible. We're going to teach them that determination beats numbers, that fury beats doctrine, that a species fighting for survival is the most dangerous force in the universe. For Harmony Station, for our people, for humanity. The fleet jumped to faster than light speeds and vanished into Zathrian space. What followed was 30 days of running battles unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The human fleet did not stop, did not consolidate, did not hold territory. They struck like lightning and moved on before the Zathrians could respond effectively. In the Kelta system, they dropped thousands of autonomous mines that hunted Zathrian ships for weeks afterward. In the Vrax system, they hacked the orbital defense platforms and turned them against the Zathrian garrison. In the Helcon system, they used the gravity of a gas giant to slingshot past the defending fleet, leaving them scrambling to catch up. Human ships that were too damaged to continue were not abandoned. Their crews set the reactors to overload and aimed them at strategic targets. Some captains piloted their dying vessels directly into Zathrian shipyards, taking the sacrifice upon themselves to spare others. The Zathrians tried to adapt. They set ambushes, but human hackers intercepted their communications and warned the fleet in advance. They positioned their grand fleet to block the obvious routes, but the humans took impossible paths through asteroid fields and radiation zones that should have killed them. Every species in the galaxy watched through long-range sensors and spy networks. The humans were losing 40% of their ships, just as Kincaid had predicted, but they were penetrating deeper into the Empire than any enemy had in 1,000 years. They're insane, one Zathrian military analyst said, watching the tactical displays. They're willing to sacrifice everything just to reach our homeworld. What kind of species does this? A species, his commander replied quietly, that we should never have attacked. On day 28, the battered human fleet, now reduced to 78 ships, emerged at the edge of the Zathros system, the heart of the Empire, the seat of power that had ruled 400 worlds for 3 millennia. The Grand Fleet was there waiting. 800 fresh warships arrayed in perfect defensive formation. Between the humans and the planet stood the greatest military force the galaxy had ever assembled. Kincaid looked at the tactical display and smiled grimly. The final piece of Operation Ragnarok was about to be revealed. Deploy Project Prometheus, she ordered. From the holds of her flagship and 6 other surviving carriers, strange devices emerged. They looked like satellites at first, but they began to accelerate, building speed gradually. These were relativistic kinetic impactors. Each one was essentially a large mass with an engine that would accelerate it to a significant fraction of light speed over several hours. But there were more weapons in play. Antimatter warheads carefully contained in magnetic bottles ready to be released. Cyber warfare packages prepared to infiltrate every Zathrian computer system within range. And one more surprise. Broadcast to Zathros Prime, Kincaid said. All frequencies. Her face appeared on every screen across the planet. Billions of Zathrians watched as the human admiral delivered her ultimatum. People of Zathros Prime, your emperor started this war by murdering 50,000 civilians. Your grand fleet is positioned to stop us. You have 800 ships. We have 78. By conventional logic, you cannot lose. But we are not fighting conventionally. The devices we have just deployed will reach relativistic speeds in 18 hours. When they strike your planet, the impact will be equivalent to multiple extinction-level events. Your shields will not stop them. Your defenses will not save you. She paused, letting that sink in. We are giving you 24 hours to evacuate your civilians. Every transport, every ship you have, use them to get people away from your world. This is the only mercy you will receive from us. It is more mercy than you showed our families. The transmission ended. Panic erupted across Zathros Prime. Billions of people looked up at their sky knowing that death was coming. Emperor Zathvar summoned his military commanders. Destroy those devices. Destroy the human fleet. I don't care what it costs. But his Grand Admiral, a veteran of 50 campaigns, looked at the tactical display and saw something the Emperor did not. The humans had positioned themselves perfectly. If the Grand Fleet moved to engage them, they would leave gaps in the planetary defense. If they stayed in formation, they could not reach the humans before more weapons were deployed. And there was something else. The human ships were damaged but not defeated. They were positioned in a way that suggested they had one more card to play. The Admiral had studied the Battle of Proxima Reach. He had learned that humans always had one more surprise. Your Majesty, the Grand Admiral said slowly, we need to consider surrender. The Emperor stared at him in disbelief. Surrender? The Empire does not surrender. We outnumber them 10-1, and yet they reached our homeworld. They are prepared to destroy it. Your Majesty, we can win this battle, but can we save our world before those weapons strike? Can we intercept devices moving at relativistic speeds? Can we survive a species that is willing to die to take us with them? The Emperor looked around at his commanders. He saw fear in their eyes. Fear of the humans, yes, but also fear of something deeper. Fear that they had awakened something that could not be stopped, only survived. On the human ships, crews waited. Some prayed. Others wore the countdown timer showed 16 hours remaining when the communication came through. It was not from Emperor Zathvar. It was from Grand Admiral Thexuna, commander of the Zathrian Grand Fleet. Admiral Kincaid of Terran Command. I request a private channel to discuss terms. Kincaid studied the alien's face on her screen. He looked tired, far older than his years. She could see the weight of responsibility in his eyes, the burden of making a choice that would define his species' future. What terms, Grand Admiral? Your Emperor called us inferior. He ordered genocide. Now your world stands on the edge of extinction. What is there to discuss? Reality, Thexuna replied simply. I am a military officer. I understand tactics and strategy. You have executed a campaign that will be studied for generations. But more than that, you have shown us what humans truly are. We miscalculated catastrophically. You murdered 50,000 civilians and called it a lesson. That's not a miscalculation. That's a crime. Yes, Thexuna said quietly. It is, and I intend to make it right if you will allow me. Kincaid leaned forward. I'm listening. The Emperor refuses to surrender. He is locked in his palace, raving about honor and the glory of the Empire. He has lost touch with reality. But I have not. I have 800 ships. You have 78. I could destroy your fleet, but I cannot stop your weapons from destroying my world. Even if I win the battle, I lose the war. My people lose their home. So you're surrendering to save your planet. No, Thexuna corrected. I am surrendering because you are right and we were wrong. Because my people do not deserve to die for one fool's pride. Because this war should never have happened. And the only way to end it is to remove the cause. Behind him, Kincaid could see movement. Zathrian military officers in combat armor were moving through what looked like the Imperial Palace. What are you doing, Grand Admiral? What should have been done days ago? The Emperor is under arrest. He will stand trial for his crimes. The Grand Council is meeting an emergency session to establish a transitional government, and I am authorized to offer you our formal surrender. along with our full cooperation in bringing the guilty to justice. Kincaid felt her heart hammering. This was it. The moment that would determine if humanity's sacrifice had been worth it. What guarantees can you offer? None, Thexuna admitted. Accept my word as a military officer. We will cease all hostilities immediately. We will withdraw all forces from human borders. We will turn over Admiral Krevthun's accomplices and all others involved in the Harmony Station massacre. We will pay reparations. We will accept demilitarization and oversight. And we will help you rebuild what we destroyed. And if your people reject this surrender, if another faction tries to continue the war, then I will be the first to fall defending the peace, Thexuna said. I have seen what humans are capable of, Admiral. I have no wish to see it unleashed again. No sane person would. Kincaid made her decision. Recall your weapons and we'll recall ours. All ships hold position. We'll meet to negotiate terms in 12 hours. But understand this, Grand Admiral. If this is a trick, if you betray this trust, there will be no mercy. We will finish what we started here. Understood. And, Admiral, for what it's worth, I am sorry. Not because we lost, because we ever thought this war was justified. The transmission ended. Kincaid slumped in her chair, suddenly feeling the weight of 30 days of continuous combat. Around her, the bridge crew erupted in quiet celebration. They had done it. They had survived. They had won. But victory tasted like ashes in Kincaid's mouth. She thought of the 6,000 crew members lost at Proxima Reach, the 15,000 more who had died in the march to Zathros, 21,000 human lives to avenge 50,000 and prevent further genocide. Was it worth it? She didn't know. She knew only that she had done what was necessary. The surrender negotiations took 3 days. Ambassador Chen led the human delegation, and he showed no mercy. The terms were harsh but fair. Emperor Zathvar would stand trial for genocide. The Zathrian Empire would be dissolved into smaller independent states, each monitored by peacekeepers. Military forces would be reduced by 70%. Full reparations would be paid to human and alien victims alike. Most importantly, the site where Harmony Station had once floated would be rebuilt, not as a trade hub but as a memorial, a place where the names of all 50,000 victims would be carved into eternal stone, a reminder of what happens when the powerful believe they can act without consequences. The Galactic Council met in emergency session to ratify the peace agreement. Species that had remained silent during humanity's darkest hour now spoke eloquently about justice and the rule of law. Chen listened to their speeches with barely concealed contempt. When it was his turn to speak, he was brief. For years, humanity sought to be part of the galactic community. We traded fairly. We negotiated honestly. We followed your laws. When we were attacked, when our civilians were murdered, we asked you for justice. You gave us silence. You cowered before the strong and abandoned the weak. Today you congratulate yourselves on this peace. But remember, humanity secured this peace alone. We asked for your help and received none. We will not forget that. He paused, looking around the chamber. The Zathrian Empire learned a hard lesson about humanity. Perhaps the rest of you should learn it too. We are peaceful by choice, not by nature. We follow laws because we believe in them, not because we fear power. But when someone crosses the line, when they threaten our families and our future, we will respond with everything we have. We will not stop. We will not negotiate. We will not accept anything less than total victory. This is not a threat. This is a promise. The chamber remained silent as Chen left. No one applauded. No one spoke. They had witnessed humanity's capacity for war, and it terrified them. 6 months later, Admiral Kincaid stood at the Harmony Station Memorial. The new station gleamed in the distance, rebuilt with both human and Zathrian labor as part of the reparations. But this platform, this sacred place, held only the memorial. 50,000 names carved into black stone that floated in space, illuminated by soft lights. Families came here to mourn, to remember, to tell their lost loved ones that they had not been forgotten, that justice, however bloody, had been served. A reporter approached Kincaid as she stood before the wall where Rebecca Walsh's name was carved alongside her son's. Admiral Kincaid, now that 6 months have passed, do you think the war was worth it? Was the price humanity paid justified? Kincaid was quiet for a long moment. She thought of the 21,000 crew members who had died under her command. She thought of the Zathrian civilians who had been evacuated from their homeworld in terror, not knowing if they would ever return. She thought of the empire that had been broken apart, of the political chaos that still rippled through dozens of systems. Worth it? She finally said. No war is worth it. War is hell. It's death and destruction and pain that echoes through generations. But was it necessary? Yes, absolutely yes. She turned to face the reporter directly. We didn't want this war. We asked for peace. We asked for justice. We were given contempt and genocide. The Zathrians thought they could kill our people and face no consequences. They thought we would accept our place as inferiors and move on. They were wrong. But 21,000 human lives, 21,000 volunteers who understood what they were fighting for. Kincaid interrupted. Every person who died in this war knew the stakes. They knew they might not come home, but they also knew that if they didn't fight, if we allowed genocide to go unanswered, then every human in the galaxy would be at risk. We fought so that our children, our grandchildren, would never again have to fear being slaughtered for refusing a trade deal. And what about the Zathrian people? Millions displaced, their empire destroyed? Their empire was built on the backs of conquered species. It claimed the right to murder civilians as a teaching tool. It needed to be destroyed. As for their people, we gave them more mercy than they gave us. We could have let those kinetic impactors strike. We could have turned Zathros Prime into a dead rock. Instead, we gave them time to evacuate. We gave them a chance to do the right thing. And to their credit, some of them took it. Kincaid looked back at the memorial wall. Rebecca Walsh was a merchant. She sold medical supplies. She had a husband on Earth and a 6-year-old son. Her crime was following her government's law about weapon sales. For that, she was murdered along with 49,999 others. If fighting to avenge them, to prevent it from happening again, if that makes us monsters in some eyes, then so be it. I can live with that. The reporter was quiet for a moment. What do you say to those who claim humanity is now feared rather than respected? I say fear and respect are often two sides of the same coin. Before this war, we were ignored, dismissed as naive children playing at being adults. Now every species knows that humanity keeps its promises. We promise friendship to those who deal with us honestly. We promise devastating consequences to those who harm our people.